Hello and welcome to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. We are on the Zooms today to talk about Blandy Experimental Farm. They, of course, are located at the Virginia State Arboretum. Although when Tim Farmer was at Blandy, he had a very specific way that he introduced the whole complex there,
Of
and
course.
he was very particular about how I said it as
Yes.
well.
It's a big
So
word bank of titles. Yeah.
it really is. And you're not going to be that much different. So on the Zooms with us this morning is Anne Marie Chirieleison. She is the director of the foundation of the State Arboretum. I'm so glad that you had some time this morning, Anne Marie, to talk to me because you guys are celebrating a huge milestone.
Thanks, Janet. Yeah, we're turning 100 years old this year. And I am using the collective we there. So Blandy was established in 1926 with a bequest from Graham Blandy. And in 1927, the University of Virginia installed the first director and curator at the Arboretum. So we're celebrating kind of a 2-year birthday party because we can't just fit it in 1 year. Not possible. We're very excited and eager to share the celebration with y'all.
Hey, I'm a fan of long
Mhm.
celebrations. There
Yep.
was a time younger in my life where I had a birthday month, and then as I got older, it was a birthday week. And now that I'm
Hmm.
of this age, it's yeah, okay, whatever. I don't want to necessarily draw attention to the
Absolutely.
number. So tell me a little bit about the foundation itself. So I've
Sure.
talked to Melanie a lot about the events and all
Mhm.
the things that happen at Blandy. How does the foundation play into all of that?
Sure. A lot of folks will associate the foundation with our annual garden fair, the Mother's Day plant sale fair. The foundation began as the Friends Group for Blandy Experimental Farm. So, Blandy, of course, is a research station operated by the University of Virginia's Department of Environmental Sciences. And so, there is a staff and there are researchers there year round. And the Friends Group began as a way to spread the love between Blandy and the community and back and forth. So, a lot of projects that have taken place at Blandy over the years have actually been thanks to the foundation and the foundation's involvement. Everything from the native plant trail, the Wilkins driving loop that goes around the arboretum, the more newly renovated restrooms, which I know are frequently visited by many, many of the folks listening. Those are all things that the foundation does to support the research station that their regular budget may not actually account for. So we're very much still in a friends group mindset, but we are now, of course, a 501c3 foundation, and we do have the kind of the legitimacy that comes with that too, which is nice.
And that's not all that unusual. Even government agencies like our Frederick County Sheriff's Office or the Front Royal Police Department, they all have foundations that step in to
Absolutely.
cover the cost of things that aren't always in the budget. So it makes sense that Blandy would operate that way as well.
Yeah, and a lot of folks take for granted, you see the name State Arboretum, you think we're underwritten by the state. We're not. We do receive some funding from the state, but we have to petition for those costs. And people think that you're UVA, so you get all UVA money. But at the same time, a lot of the funds come from Graham Blandy's original bequest. So it's not an open bag of money aimed at the Arboretum. And so we do our darndest to make sure that the Arboretum looks its best, performs its best, and really feels the appreciation of the community.
I do think you're right, though. That's a confusion point amongst most of the general public in that
Yeah,
they assume it's all one thing, and it kind of is, but it's also very separate because the research doesn't take place on every single inch of that property. So I think sometimes people just get confused about which part belongs to who. And while it all belongs to one thing, it's still
sure.
operated a little differently.
Yeah, there are some places that are more public facing and some places that are more research facing. And we certainly love to enlist our community scientists too, of which about 6,000 are K through 12 kids from our area counties. And of course, universities, undergrads too. So while every inch is open to exploration, I would agree with you that there are some parts that tend to be more aimed at visitors versus researchers or versus, frankly, the wildlife, the habitat that exists in that space.
I'm sure that a lot of people listening today are familiar with what Blandy looks like now. And even some
Mhm.
of my older listeners may remember what it was like 15, 20, 50 years ago. But when
Mhm.
it first got started, what
Sure.
did that look like? Give me a little history.
Well, you're talking to the resident history nerd at Blandy. So, in your mind's eye, we'll just rewind the clock 100 years. So, when Graham Blandy initially made the bequest, the 712 acres that now comprises the Arboretum was part of the old Tuileries estate. And there's a white manor house that sits adjacent to our property but is not part of the Arboretum. And that was the original manor house. So, the buildings that came with the bequest were all the work buildings, the ancillary buildings. So, there were a couple of barns and most notably was the original brick structure, which is now just one wing of the quarters building. And that brick structure was originally the 1835 enslaved dwelling for the Tuileries plantation. And that was, of course, before the Blandys purchased the property. And so in 1926, the dormitories and the research labs were housed in that original enslaved quarters building. It's a two-story brick building. And then within about 25 years, the university built on two other wings to form the U-shaped, I'm doing hand gestures on this video call, but of course the listeners won't know, the U-shaped structure that you see today. And so currently we still have student dorms and offices in that original quarter, my office included. So we're very much part of and aware of the history of the property at Blandy. And of course, over the years, we have added a few modern buildings to the mix as well. In the 2010s, we added a new research greenhouse and laboratories. And then there have been a lot of infrastructure elements added, notably trails and other constructions as well that support public and research-oriented activities.
The thing that is impressive to me, not just the age of making it this far to 100 years, is you are still discovering things on that property. Last year, Melanie did the show and we talked about an event with pawpaws. And there was
Oh,
a
absolutely.
pawpaw patch that had been
Yeah.
discovered on the
Mhm.
property that had been there for years and it used to be taken
Absolutely.
care of and then it had fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
You're still finding things on this property.
And it's such a joy too. And it's something that I think as someone who I come to it as a little bit of a resident, I'm familiar with the area, have lived in Northern Virginia for quite a while and had visited the Arboretum, but I took for granted things like the pawpaw patch, which was originally a science experiment. And now we benefit from having this 60-year-old pawpaw patch that we can learn from and taste from at the public event that we host. And a lot of folks will be familiar with the ginkgo grove, right? This 300 tree ginkgo grove laid out in grids. It's absolutely gorgeous. The original plantings of that grove were done in the 30s, almost 100 years ago, and it was a science experiment. It was a genetic study on the ginkgo tree. And so we inherit not just the scientific evidence and research, but this amazing collection that you literally can't find anywhere else. And not to toot our own horn, but folks out here in the valley, we have a lot to be proud of for calling that home.
When you think about it, in the 30s, there probably wasn't a lot for people to learn or to know. And so, again, having all of those years under your belt, now we have the Ginkgo Grove. That wasn't such a big deal back in the day because it hadn't even begun yet.
Right. A lot of what the first, generations of the Arboretum comprised of was, in some cases, rewilding the landscape, but had been an agricultural space for years and years. And we take for granted that agriculture is not benign to the environment. It does affect what grows there, who grows there, why are they there, and that kind of thing. So it's amazing that it takes a long time to look like nobody's been here. But it does. And those kinds of landscapes have a lot of benefit for our researchers today who are primarily focused on what are the relationships between pollinators and plants? How do plants adjust to salinity levels from road salt? How does heat affect native bee colonies, right? Those are the kinds of questions that are now being asked. Whereas 100 years ago, it was more, how do we determine the genetics of this species of plant? So the questions we ask have evolved, the landscape has evolved, but the role and benefit of the space, I think, has done nothing but grown.
And it's such a benefit too to have that much acreage because it would
Oh,
be
yes.
very difficult to do that on 3 acres or even 10
Amen.
acres.
Yeah. And to speak to kind of the Arboretum's love affair with Clark County too, Clark County is still pretty darn rural, and that helps as well that we know that in general we are in a space that has these, whether it's native species, even invasive species, but that is a more open space, has more rural or agricultural applications. There's a benefit to that too, I think.
Let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the launch of this Centennial Endowment
Hmm.
campaign, what it looks
Hmm.
like, what purpose it has. Can we get in the weeds, so to speak, on that in the next segment?
I love that. Any chance to get in weeds. Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation. We're on the Zooms today with Anne Marie Chirieleison. She is the director of the Foundation of the State Arboretum. We're talking about the launch of the Centennial Endowment campaign when we come back in just a couple of minutes.
This Saturday, Henry Mueller will change the world. He has no idea that's what he's going to do. He only knows that he went to justserve.org and signed up to spend time at a senior center Saturday morning. As he browsed through service opportunities in his own community, he remembered the words of Paul to the Galatians, "By love serve one another." Little does Henry know that Saturday morning he'll end up speaking to one senior in particular who hasn't seen his family in several weeks and is feeling especially lonely. Henry doesn't know the short time he'll spend with this man will lift his spirits, cheer his heart, and make his life just a little better. Through love and service this Saturday, Henry Mueller will change the world. See the difference you can make. Sign up for service opportunities in your community. Visit justserve.org.
Welcome back to the Valley. Today, I am your host, Janet Michael. We are talking today about Blandy Experimental Farm. They are celebrating 100 years of science, education, and stewardship. They are about to launch a Centennial Endowment campaign. So we are on the Zooms chatting with Anne Marie Chirieleison. She is the director of the Foundation of the State Arboretum. And Anne Marie, we talked a little bit about the history of Blandy as a whole and all of the things that we have been able to benefit. But
Hmm.
it hasn't even just been us here in the Valley. The experiments
Sure.
and the things that those scientists are working on at Blandy end up worldwide.
Absolutely, they do. And that's thanks so much to the work of the researchers. And I'm including undergraduate researchers, graduate docs, postdocs, and we do have a few faculty members that are full time, including the Arboretum's director, David Carr. So the contributions that are made here in Clark County have huge spread across the nation and across the world. And again, referring back to research in insect populations, relationships with pollinators, that are very timely, very relevant to the questions that we're asking today about the environment and our role in it. We see our relationship with the Arboretum as we're this tiny effect that has such large ripples. And for folks to make a contribution, a membership, a gift, whatever, it might be volunteer hours, you're giving to something that on one hand seems very small, but on the other hand, you're really turning that dial, you're moving the needle on some really big and important topics in our world.
So, why at 100 years launch a Centennial Endowment campaign? Why now? And what
Right.
exactly is it?
Excellent question. So the foundation, we are, as I mentioned before, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're a small org. We're university affiliated, so we do have the benefit of pooling some of our capital resources with UVA's investment pool. So we see this centennial celebration as an opportunity to look ahead and an opportunity to do whatever little we can to prepare for the next 100 years. So if you think back, think about all the things over the last 100 years that have affected the Arboretum. And I don't necessarily even just mean in terms of weather events and the impact of humans in a positive way through research. I'm thinking the internet. I'm thinking global pandemics. I'm thinking the change in transportation that happens over the course of 100 years. And I don't know that any of us really know what the next 100 years has in store, not even in terms of challenges, but in terms of opportunities. And what is the best way for the foundation to be prepared to take advantage of the opportunities that are yet to come? We are a very small foundation. Our annual income and expenses somewhere between 250 and 300,000 a year. So we don't bank from this great backlog of capital. So the Centennial is really an opportunity for us to say, you know what? If everyone who has visited has a soft spot, has a memory, has a prom photo taken at the Arboretum, donated just a little bit to support the next 100 years of Blandy, what a difference that could make for the benefit of Blandy and the benefit of the communities that enjoy the research, the amenities, the trails, whatever it might be. So that's really the goal behind it. It's an unrestricted endowed campaign. So it will be saved. We will earn money from it, but it's unrestricted. So we can use judiciously some of these funds to, again, take advantage of those opportunities to start an exciting new project, or heaven forbid lightning hits the research group, something, whatever it might be, but we will actually be a little bit more prepared for whatever the future might bring. And it is an opportunity for folks to leave a legacy along the way. So we do have a recognition structure. We will have a giving wall at the Arboretum that recognizes these donors. And I think it'll be a great way to show, to your point too, folks around here sometimes remember 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and a number of our donors and pledgees are eager to leave their names here, right? As almost a little centennial time capsule for that too.
It's also super important when you talk about having this endowment be unrestricted funds. You and I were
Right.
chatting a little bit during the break about my recent taking over as interim CEO at United Way, and I've gotten quite the education in the last 3 months on restricted versus unrestricted funds. And I work with a lot of nonprofits, and I don't know that the general public necessarily understands or appreciates that you need those unrestricted funds in order sometimes to have the people in order to do the things. And so if
Right.
everybody wants to fund the things, but they don't want to fund the people to make the things happen, sometimes
Right.
that gets a little complicated. So I think this is another way that Blandy can educate the masses on the
Yes.
value of being a participant in something like this, because it's going to check all of the boxes, not just a couple.
I think you're exactly right. And so while this fund, it is unrestricted, we're trying to make sure that we, again, spend judiciously for the best cost effectiveness and the best mission effectiveness for the foundation and for the Arboretum. I'm getting a lot of positive response from members of the public because as a 100-year-old institution, we've built a lot of trust with the community. This fund is not going to buy Anne Marie a Corvette. That's not what's going to happen with these unrestricted funds. We have such a great track record of, frankly, making do with little, right? Making do with what we have, making do with our volunteers and our friends and our neighbors, and making things happen. So I think folks recognize that an unrestricted fund just means that elbow grease we're already used to putting in is going to have extra oomph behind it.
And there's a lot of reporting, and being a 501c3 means that there's a lot of people checking in on you and looking under the hood and making sure that everything is happening the way that it's supposed to happen. So sometimes that word just seems scary, and it's not really scary if you
Right.
understand the mechanics of it.
Right. The paperwork is all there. And gosh, I would be thrilled at any time to give folks maybe not a tour of our file cabinet, but to show, literally show the effect that donor dollars and community support has at the Arboretum. Because it's everywhere. It's everything you touch.
So how will the campaign work? How can I, as an individual, give? Do you want businesses to give? Is it a pledge system? Walk me through the logistics.
Thank you. So it is a pledge system you can give outright right away. You can make a pledge that will be counted towards our overall goal. We do have a centennial giving page on our website that's blandy.virginia.edu. And so we have a support tab there that has a centennial page that you can visit to learn more about the giving levels, everything from Seedling Society up to our Heritage Grove level. You can give there through web platform. You're also welcome. There's information there to send via ACH transfer. If you have a stock benefit that you'd like to donate, there are all kinds of ways to give. There are all kinds of times to give. We just ask that you make a pledge of any amount, make a gift of any amount, and be counted towards this wonderful annual celebration. We'll also have opportunities at the Arboretum to give too with QR codes. If you just happen to come for a visit and you see our centennial poster, you can give directly through that avenue. And we're working on identifying other ways that folks can give either virtually or in person as well.
The campaign has already kicked off. How long will it
That's
run? Is it
right.
ongoing?
The formal campaign opened July 1. Our phase one goal for the Centennial Endowment campaign is $100,000, and that's simply the amount needed to seed the investment account. So that's kind of like our first milestone, and I'm very pleased it's not officially public yet, but with pledges counted, we've reached that milestone. Woohoo! So we'll be opening up a new phase of giving very soon. And our goal then will be to complete our giving phases by the end of 2027 calendar year. So July 1, 2026 through December 31st of 2027. Although we are going to leave an avenue open in future years, I think, for people to contribute to the same unrestricted endowment in honor of the centennial. So we have some time to consider what kind of gift might be appropriate to you, or to consider what kind of gift really reflects the benefit of the Arboretum. And we'll also have lots of time between now and then to do a lot of celebrating, which is really important thing. We have our upcoming Pawpaws and Pints event in September. That'll be a great public event. And then Ginkgo Gold to follow in October, and then our end of year holiday wreath workshop. So we're rolling into a really exciting time and a really great time to engage with the public. And again, to show very literally, this is what you do when you buy a registration ticket, when you come and give a donation, when you donate to the endowment campaign. These are the kinds of things that are tactile, that are happening now, but think of all the wonderful things to come that we hope that this endowment will support. And you will be part of that too. No matter where you are on the planet at that time, there will continue to be good happening at the Arboretum.
I catch a fair amount of grief when Melanie does the show every year for the Mother's Day garden fair.
Yep.
Because I always tell her that aside from what a great event that it is in and of itself, but knowing all of the good that comes to Blandy from that fundraiser, that they should be
Right.
charging more for the tickets. And then people are like, will you quit saying that?
They give you like the finger across the neck thing.
And I'm like,
Don't
but
say
it
that.
should be, because it has
Yeah.
so much, it does so much good for such little investment from people. And this campaign is just going to be another avenue of that.
Bingo, bingo. And that's frankly one way that we talk about how do we price our programs and why do we price our programs. And by having other ways to give, we're able to say we want people to invest by coming to our events and participating in the community. But we also want, when we honestly really just need your support, this is when we're asking for it. Please, rather than hiking up prices for events or things, please make a centennial gift to the Arboretum. Make that vote.
Again, using my United Way experience and background, every dollar counts. So if someone's listening and they're like, yeah, but I've only got $5, or I can only give $1, or I'd
Yep.
like to give 1,000, but I can't write you that check today for 1,000,
Right.
but I could do
Right.
$200 a month over the next several months. All of those things count, because there are probably 100 or 1,000 other people thinking and doing the same thing. And when you pull all of that together, it really does create that impact that you're looking for.
Yes, it makes a huge impact. And to those people, number one, I would say we benefit from every gift of every size. And even if you consider in 1926, if someone had said, I only have $5, why should I give? Right? And the value of that $5 today. So think about the impact that your gift is going to have. Small gifts have an impact today. Small gifts have an impact in 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. And your small gift today will continue to make that impact into the future. It's a long-term investment, a long-term benefit, and a long-term gift that you are able to give. And it's tremendous. It's much larger than the dollar amount that's on the gift.
And it's also super cool to be able to tell friends when they say, oh, yeah, we went to Blandy and took the dogs for a walk. And you can say, I helped support that. And that trail is there thanks in
That's
part
right.
to something that I
That's
did.
right.
It's never
Oh, you
a
mean
terrible
my
thing.
arboretum? Yeah. Yeah. I say that to people all the time. It's like, oh, you mean your arboretum? Because it is. Everyone who supports has some ownership over this space. I take that seriously when I think about we're the stewards of this space, and it's a research station. It's important, but it is ours too. And I'm using a little bit of air quotes too, but it's all of ours. We love it. We care for it. We want it to be safe and happy and healthy.
So where can people go? Someone's listening and they're like, all right, I'm in. I want to support. Where is the best first place for them to start?
The best place to go is our website, blandy.virginia.edu. And we have a support tab there. And that'll take you to our Centennial page, which will tell you a little bit more. It'll give you, again, this context of what the Centennial campaign is, what the unrestricted funds might do. From there, we have a secure online portal that you can give, or you can contact me separately to make a pledge gift from that same site. So just as you alluded to, you can make a multi-year gift, a monthly gift, whatever it might be that fits in your budget. And we're happy for any and all support for folks to dig deep mentally and emotionally and consider what the Arboretum means to you. So giving on the web platform is one of the most direct ways. There's also information there to mail a check or to make an ACH gift, a bank transfer gift. And then again, in person too, throughout the Arboretum, you'll see centennial posters that have a QR code that'll lead you to the same portal as well. We welcome folks giving gifts off the cuff. We welcome folks really thinking hard about their investment plans, because I think it's really going to take a little bit of everybody to make the next 100 years a success at Blandy.
And that's where even tiny things that don't necessarily involve dollars, like sharing posts on social media or telling your friends, hey, I heard this show and Blandy's doing this, and I can't right now in this moment afford to give, but maybe you can. And helping you spread the word that this campaign is happening to people is invaluable as well.
Absolutely. So you'll see Blandy Experimental Farm on Facebook and Instagram. So feel free to share. And we've been very fortunate. Folks are picking up this Centennial Endowment campaign. We had the press release go out in Winchester Star, Northern Virginia Daily, and I think UVA Daily also pushed it. And now we're in Valley today. So I think this story has a lot of legs. There's no wrong place to hear about us, but when you do hear about us, please share. As I say, like and subscribe. Please share it out with your friends. Share it with your coworkers. Would your company have an opportunity to invent years by participating in the Centennial campaign? There's no wrong way to share. There's no wrong way to give, including giving media space, frankly.
Anne Marie, thank you for taking the time today to give me this information and background. So people will get tired of hearing me talk about this. So good idea.
I'm glad to have someone else tasked on that too, Janet. Appreciate it.
I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today, just a few minutes after noon. So meet me here then.